I am one of those women. I planned and prepped for the perfect non-medicated birth. Doula, check. Midwives, check. Bradley natural childbirth classes, check. Top-notch hospital in case all hell breaks loose, check. Breastfeeding books, check. Pretty floral gown to birth in, check. iPod loaded with Johnny Cash and Sade, check. Supportive husband, check. High-risk label due to being over 35, check. High maintenance due to all that you've just heard, check. I vividly remember when my water broke, 9:20 p.m. Thursday, July 15th, 2010. My husband had his handmade divining rods pointed my way, asking what sex our child would be. I don't recall that outcome. I spent the night resting on my bed with layers of towels underneath me. The next day, I ate at my favorite restaurants, I walked the dogs, and I did some last-minute packing, just waiting for a natural course of action. That Friday night, I relented and I went into the hospital for monitoring. All was well, and I just needed to buy some more time. By Saturday night, I succumbed to being induced. My midwives and hospital were really pushing for some action, pardon the pun. So I gave it to them. And I learned a little Pitocin goes a long way with me. The party started shortly thereafter, and I was in transition and active labor for 10 hours, and according to plan without any pain medication. I prayed, chanted, counted, tried the silent treatment, and even begged the pain to stop, but it just kept going. I'm one of those women because I appreciated every incredible minute. Finally, 56 hours after my water broke, I was ready, 10 centimeters dilated and wanting to push. Upon cervical check, my midwife's face changed. She said, "Your baby is breech. We have to get you into the operating room now." I was so exhausted. All I could say was, "Okay." She said, "The room's gonna fill with people in about 20 seconds. I just don't want you to be scared." It was only 10 seconds. My floral pink gown was torn off and replaced with the standard hospital gown. Someone was asking me if I could lie down. I hadn't lain down in 12 hours. "Could I hold on?" another asked. "Oh, yes, I can hold on." "Do you want me to cover up your backside?" a nurse asked. Modesty has never been my problem. Down the hall and into the elevator we went. From a dimly lit room with soft music to Friday night lights we arrived. Of the 10 people in the OR, scrubbed and ready to go, I could see 8 of them were women. From my knees on my gurney, I had the overwhelming feeling of gratitude and knowing that we would be well cared for. I told the surgeon, "I know this doesn't look like a bikini body, but I've never been cut before. Please go easy." Minutes later, albeit what felt like an eternity, my doula looked over at me and said, "I think they just put a pink hat on your baby. A girl. How awesome." We recovered so well and quickly that we earned an early discharge. 4 days later, I had accepted that I had a colicky baby who just constantly cried. My other baby, my husband insisted we go to the hospital. My husband insisted we go to the hospital, as he was concerned she was dehydrated. He was right. Her jaundice had broken the blood-brain barrier, and she might have permanent brain damage, all due to my inability to feed her. As I watch a nurse who looked 15 years of age search for a viable vein on my baby's sweet head, I felt ill myself. The doctor, after telling me she might need a full-body blood transfusion, touched my arm as I cried. He said, "I know this is scary for you, but we do this every day." Over the next week, we endured multiple spinal taps, reports of dark spots on her precious little brain, and the darkest days of my entire life. Breast is best, they say, and sure a good latch, they say. I did that, but none of it worked. 4 lactation consultants later, and she was still in danger, permanent danger because of me. We made it through that week with God's grace, family, and amazing friends. Tara, a friend of more than 20 years who also delayed motherhood, pumped and sent her own breast milk from across the state, like a high-grade seafood supplier to a 5-star restaurant. Rebecca and Michelle, friends of 5 years, who were struggling to become parents themselves, drove separately because one could get there earlier than the other from another state to care for us and do what they could. Together we made it. My daughter Bahia's brain spots lifted, and she's your typical 4-year-old today. Ironically, I think I got my perfect birth, even though it wasn't my planned birth. I learned a lot about myself through this ordeal and learned to give up some control that was never really mine to begin with. In perspective, I know that none of my wishes mattered outside of the one wanting a healthy, happy baby, and that I do have. Now, I can continue to learn to let the rest go.